Well, thank you, ASCI, for inviting me to moderate the session. I'm supremely excited. Although I'd have preferred to moderate the session with the two kids, it was so much more insightful. But here's we pretending to kind of understand this new world. So before we start, I'd like, because you're on the panel, I'd like the three women and the one gentleman to kind of introduce themselves as not by a caste, creed, or religion, but by just your generation. So I am a geriatric millennial. So that's where I come from. That's my prism. You guys want to do a quick round of your generation?
Same boat, Sonali. Millennial. Guilty as charged.
I'm a millennial, but I'm also mom to two Gen Alpha kids. So the earlier panel was pretty much my evening every day when my kids are smacking my head and telling me to go Google stuff because they don't believe my number of years on the planet were enough.
Right.
I don't belong to any gen. I probably say that I belong to generation curiosity. I'm curious every single day.
That's too much of a cool answer. You'll have to define it.
I've got aura, you know.
Can I just copy his answer?
Come on. Don't be ashamed of your generation.
So, what's one after the boomers?
Gen X.
Yeah, Gen X.
Okay.
And we are Gen X.
Yeah.
Okay, so great. So we've got some Gen X's and some geriatric millennials, and we'll try and kind of, break down what this cohort means. I just want to start with, an incident, a real life incident that took place with me last night. So it's quite cool that it took place last night, and I'm moderating this panel today about Gen Alpha. I'm one of those lucky souls who has two nieces, 12 and 13. I'm the cool aunt, so I don't have any real responsibility. But, I get to interact with them as friends. And so, we video call every day. So yesterday was interesting because my older niece, who's 13, called me up and said, how much is 1,420 rupees? They live in London, so they have no concept. Is it affordable for you? So I said, sure, I can afford that. So she said, okay, then I'm just going to give you my card and can you just pay for it? So I said, sure, because that's my role as a cool aunt. And I said, okay, share your screen. I want to see your cart. She said, no, I don't want to kind of show you what my cart's all about, but just pay for it, please, if you don't mind. I said, see, I'm your aunt. I'm not going to judge you for what you're buying, but I do have a moral responsibility towards your mother, which is to ensure that you're buying stuff which is legal, right? So you have to show me your cart. She showed me her cart, and her cart had 5 items. And maybe, what's your name? Madhav. So maybe you would know she had 5 items in her cart, and all of them were needles. I don't know if I'm getting the terminology right. What's it called?
So it's basically like a squishy?
Squishies, yeah. But they're called needles, right?
Squishmallows.
Was it an ice or another one?
They were like different types. So I wouldn't really understand, but they were basically stress busters.
What is it? Square?
Yeah, they were square, they were round, they were all types of things, and they're all stress busters.
Square ones are very trendy right now. They cut it open to see what's in it.
Yeah. So these were 5 items which were all stress busters. So I said, oh, is there that kind of stress as a 13-year-old? I thought my life was stressful, but, And she said, yeah, I'm stressed and, I have a very tough life. I barely have time. I have to get up, I have to go for classes. I've got netball and I need these things. So these are all like stress busters. I said, you need 5 of them. She said, yeah, I need 5 of them. They're for different uses. And so I said, okay, since it's delivery in the UK, I said, please put your own phone number and your own address and I'll dictate my credit card number. To which she is trying to then go and find out her phone number to paste it. So that was like, I was revelation. I was like, you don't know your own phone number. And do you have a phone?
I have a smartwatch.
Oh.
With a phone number.
But do you know your phone number? You don't know your phone number. What about you? You don't know. So as a generation, to me, knowing my phone number is pretty basic, but they don't even know their phone number. Anyway, as competition, prevails among siblings, me and my sisters compete till date. The younger one called me to get something from her cart, some jewelry. And so when I was paying that bill, she told me very clearly, just hold on. I need to untick this notification because I don't want any advertising or newsletters coming into my inbox. And I don't want it. So she seemed to be quite aware as a 12-year-old as to what she wants and what she doesn't want. And therein lies, I thought, was like really awesome for me to kind of go through that experience as I moderate the session today. But, so let me open with the Gen Xers. Sorry to name and shame you. But, as we discuss this entire gamut, I want to ask you a slightly more philosophical question. And just to kind of look at what Santosh said while I wasn't here, I listened to him quite intently. I'm a big fan of his mind. He said, algorithms are more influential than parents or teachers, right? Content, commerce, and entertainment are indistinguishable. And he said brand relationships are not built, they are sampled, used, and discarded. I mean, in brief, that's what I got, right? So let me start with you. The real question is, I don't think, is how we market to Gen Alpha. I want to ask you, are we even relevant in a world where we are no longer in control of the context, the meaning, or the influence?
The relevance is a question mark. I do agree with that. But I think that whether relevance is there or not, the role is definitely there. The responsibility is certainly there as adults, as parents, as ones who have been entrusted by, philosophically, the universe to take care of people who are not yet adults. There is definitely a role that the adults have to play, and we have to make ourselves relevant, whether it is in participating in their world, understanding their world. I think every generation has had to do that, right? So it's easy to say, oh, I don't know what's going on here, but it's our responsibility as a generation entrusted with bringing up this one to participate in that world. Yeah.
Right. You want to add to that? Or?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we may think that we don't have relevance because we don't have common points of communication, because we can't even understand each other's language these days. But you see the visceral effect of not being relevant in shows like Adolescence from Netflix. Those parents are not bad parents. They're just normal, conventional parents who had no clue what is being absorbed by the children vis-a-vis what we see on screen. We see something on screen, we don't understand the meaning, they understand different meaning, go to the world and do something offline. So it's not about whether we have relevance or not. We need to force ourselves with the responsibility of having relevance. Otherwise, the world will go to shit.
So I've been playing video games with my son. He's 16 now. And I hated it at the start, but I taught myself that I want to be, because the conversation that happens when...
It's a language.
Yeah.
It's a language.
The sharing that happens about his own life as well, because you're looking at the screen and you're just talking, and there's so much that comes out. If I sit down and tell me what happened at school today, he's not going to tell me. But in that conversation, it opens up, and that's the parenting moment there. Sure. So I have to play Zelda, and I have to play, I have to play that game, and I have to learn to enjoy it. Yeah.
Right. Let me ask you, Priyas, and let's unpack what's happening here. All of you here are seasoned practitioners, right? But I think this report is kind of questioning and essentially saying all the rules of your career no longer stand, right? And so you have to kind of create new rules because all your experience now is not really relevant to this cohort. What is the one belief about consumers or advertising that you now think is completely outdated, especially when one talks about this particular cohort, not even Gen Z, Gen Alpha?
Absolutely. It feels like we're marketing in a different world, right? And the one rule I will say is that no one wants to be spoken to or advertised to. The advertisers need to be present in the culture and meet them where they are in the most authentic way. there's nothing like brand loyalty anymore. It's about creating relevance, and that relevance has to be created every day. So even if you belong to a legacy brand, you can't take anything for granted. And one of the examples from the McDonald's universe is, we all heard a lot about anime, right? And the anime universe does have references to McDonald's. As a brand, we did a hat tip, a homage to the anime community, and changed our whole logo, turned it upside down, called it McDonald's for a whole month, and had a whole store makeover into the anime universe so people could step into a brand experience. And that is something I think I wouldn't have imagined as something to do 20 years ago when we started out. So I think cultural relevance is the number one thing with authenticity.
Abigail, you want to take that on
Sure.
rewriting rules of your career and unlearning a lot of stuff that you've learned as a marketer?
100%. I think for us growing up, how often have we heard this word reach, right? How important was it to reach your audience? But the rules today say, at least the way, in this algorithmic world, we're not reaching this audience, right? It's the algorithm that's deciding whether we get access to them or whether access is denied, and they're deciding on their behalf. So effectively, 10-year-old's For You page is a more effective editorial gatekeeper than any media buyer. So that effectively changes the rules of how we create advertising. What becomes important for creation is also to understand what the algorithm is rewarding today. So, for example, if we say a platform rewards rawness or authenticity or speed, those aren't just the aesthetics of the platform, they are also the cultural currency of this generation because their tastes have been shaped by the algorithm. So when we develop creative, it's not just important that my work is creatively impactful and exciting, it also needs to be algorithmically fluent. And those aren't necessarily the same things. So that's one big takeout for me.
Karthik, as the commentator of everything advertising and marketing, do you feel that we are over romanticizing loyalty?
I would say yes, because loyalty for a very different generation. The older generation meant your parents believed in a certain set of brands for a certain set of things to do in life, and then you were handed them over to you, and then you continued buying the same thing, or you started buying a new brand and you were impressed with it and you continue using it. But those were, as Santosh was saying, those work in a scarcity kind of place. Now there is no scarcity of brands or products or choices. It's endless world. So there is no need for loyalty anymore at all. What matters to the brands is that a brand has to be absolutely sure what it stands for, so that even if the Gen Alpha goes out of it, they will come back day after tomorrow.
That's a very tall ask, yeah.
No, not at all, not at all.
You think brands know
Absolutely,
what they stand for?
absolutely. For instance, take McDonald's is a great example. People see it as a fast food brand, but that's not what the brand stands for. It stands for predictable, dependable, the same thing you can get. Anywhere you go in the world, you see the golden arches, which is probably more popular than most popular, like symbols from all religions, because it's that popular and that easily seen, and know this is what you get. You go into it and then you know exactly what you can get in that store. That predictability is what matters. So even if Gen Alpha doesn't eat today, day after tomorrow, they will think, oh, McD, I know exactly what I'm going to get there. That confidence, actually.
Let me get it, Madhav. So what does McDonald's stand for you? Is it something that you wait for your parents to buy you a McDonald's Happy Meal? Does that mean anything to you, or you're not interested?
I don't really wait for it, but I like it when I can get it.
Yeah, because there's a game in it.
Yeah.
There's a toy.
Is it because of the game and the toy in it, or that doesn't matter?
That doesn't matter. And there is no game in a Happy Meal.
It's a toy. The book.
He's right.
It's a book now.
Yeah, he's right.
Great. So, yeah.
He knows what he's talking about.
Great. So, So as you were saying, so that my point is exactly this, right? We live in our own little echo chamber and we kind of rationalize what is right or think we know what is right for that generation. But they obviously have their own orbit. And we're very far away from that orbit, however hard we try, unfortunately, because we're not that generation, right? And so, okay, we can move from a position of getting out of judgment. Like, I won't judge you as a generation, which I think we do quite often, right? I'm constantly judging the Gen Zs in my workplace, right? Because their work ethic is very different from my work ethic. And maybe that mindset shift has to happen. But having said that, do you think brands need to kind of move away from building loyalty to maybe kind of optimizing relevance, and that relevance will keep changing depending on what's happening?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that was always true. So if you take a brand like Vaseline that's like 150 years old and it's still relevant today, it's because it had to adapt and change with the times and be relevant to each generation as it progressed. And more importantly, with this generation, the report used the word discontinuous. Now, if we just sit with what that means, it's not an evolution, right? It's not a one-up on the previous generation. So all of the things we talked about earlier, a complete rewrite of the rules and to understand with genuine empathy where this consumer's at and meet them at that place. I think every brand relevance is going to be imperative, because otherwise, they're not going to criticize you perhaps for not being relevant or interesting to them. They'll probably do something worse. They'll just ignore you. They'll scroll past. So they won't have any tolerance for someone who's not interesting, not important, doesn't give them something that's important to them today.
Let me ask you, so something in the report that kind of stood out was that, for instance, legacy brands are built on habit, nostalgia, and of course, repetition, right? Yeah. And we were all forced through it because of the value systems, and we've been kind of brought up, and that we broadly the same for this entire panel. But Gen Alpha rejects all three, right? So what does a long-term brand look like if the consumer has no interest in a long-term relationship with you?
So the consumer in this case, so the customer being the parent, the consumer being the child, right?
Yes.
And the consumer's interest is in some value they're getting, right? So that even though they are digitally very confident, digital natives, you feel like they don't need us at all, or they're on their own. The fact is that cognitively, the development is what it is. That's biology, right? The brain is developing at a certain age, and that 9-year-old is by nature of his biology a curious person, which is why the brands which are sticking, for example, when the kids were talking about what they're consuming, he is on Duolingo. He wants to learn that language. Yeah, his dad has thrown him a challenge, which he's clearly enjoying it. Otherwise, he would not do a 365-day streak, right? Or watching a Minecraft live stream or a screen recording. What is that? That's curiosity. I want to be better at my Minecraft game. Minecraft as a brand itself is a wonderful example of something that has been relevant for a long time for that age group. It's not come and gone. It's not a fad. It's been around for, I think, over a decade now, where Minecraft and Roblox, the evolution from Roblox to Minecraft as well. So it just shows that if you're able to understand the world of the child, the development stage they're at, and create products, create brands that add value to their lives, you will stick. There is stickiness. Lego has done a great job of doing that over, so many years. And Closer Home, Amachitra Katha, we reinvented the whole brand, and to be able to get this generation, children of this generation to also read ACK, changing the themes, changing the language, shorter story arcs, all that. But the brand continues to hold that stickiness.
Do you want to take that, Priya? That, how do you build a relationship with your consumer who is here, Gen Alpha, when they're not interested in having a relationship? It's a little bit like unrequited love.
So, I wouldn't say an interesting way to say that, but I think what I would frame it as is say that there is nothing like loyalty. Relevance has to be got every day, right? So whether it's anime or we had a Minecraft intervention as well. So where we were present in the game, so you have to be culturally relevant and meet them where they are. Everyone rejects overt advertising, right? So that's those days are gone, and I think it's just how we show up in an authentic way. But as a brand, it's our responsibility, while creativity and responsibility go hand in hand, right? So we have to show up in the cultural moment in an engaging way, but never in a misleading way. It has to show up, it has to be very clear that it's from the brand and the message is from the brand. So that's how you marry the cultural relevance and responsibility as a brand.
I'm very curious to understand from, this group, anybody can take it, is as marketers who are trying to communicate to a group of people who you just don't get, right? Where are you getting your cues from? You can't get your cues from your own team who are also not that cohort. So where are your signals coming from? Is it time that you have all generations as acting, consultant chief marketing officers of that cohort? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I mean, you have to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. I don't think, while you can pore over secondary reports, and reports like these are extremely important because they speak directly to the children in any way possible.
Sure.
So through secondary reports like this one, which was very enlightening today, also looking around in our own lives. I don't have children, but I know the other panelists do, and I'm sure they'll have very keen observations to share from their own lives on how this generation is progressing and growing.
Abigail, that kind of takes me back in time where I don't know if it's still relevant, but a lot of chief marketing officers used to test the campaign via their wives. And then if their wives didn't like it, the agencies had to kind of redo that whole thing.
They still do.
Oh, they still do. Which is, okay, fine. I mean, agency has to be, subservient to the client. We understand that. But I'm saying you can't kind of rest your entire thesis on understanding a generation which is so different basis just your experience with your child. I mean, you know what I mean?
It's not as singular as that, because there will be a lot of stimuli that will inform your decisions. You also have to be a keen observer of culture. So, for example, when you talk about Roblox, right? What is Roblox? I mean, you can say it's a game, but it's an entire ecosystem where these kids are on. Now get onto Roblox, see what's happening there, right? You have to put yourself in the environment in which this generation is to truly experience what they're experiencing, to build that empathy and really get them.
Play with you.
Whoever's on the platform.
Or whoever's on the platform. So you don't have to be friends with them.
No, not necessarily.
No.
So at ACK and Tinkle, we had the Children's Council. We had a Tinkle Squad and a junior editor program, which meant there were kids across the country who would get early access to new comics which weren't released yet, get their feedback, get their reviews, what kind of cover works, and they were brutal in their feedback, absolutely brutal, which was amazing. And I think having that engagement and having that conversation with that generation and that customer is always important. Yeah.
And to some extent, the basic human behavior remains exactly same. No matter what the kids say that I got it from the algorithm, what is far more powerful is what their friends are talking. Go and ask the friend, where did you get this from? I got it from another friend in another school, another friend. It just goes back to friend. It's not just algorithm alone. Algorithm seeded it somewhere, but it's people telling people, which is the golden truth of all things in advertising and marketing. So if you're able to seed the right thing in the right friend circle, it will go viral actually.
I have a slightly different perspective from a marketer point of view, and coming from my Instagram experience as well. I think we should, as marketers, take it at an advantage that we don't need lakhs of rupees and link testing to put out one creative, which is going to last a year. You're delulu if you think that. So I think the good part is if the algorithm is feeding you back so quickly, today in that same money, I can make 6 pieces of content, put them all out organically. I do not put any money unless I know it's doing well organically. So I think you just need to play to the algorithm and change the way you've been marketing and see the silver lining when you can. So it's not all your eggs are not in the one basket of the TVC that your boss's wife probably doesn't like.
This is actually very true because the CEO of McDonald's produced the most viral video of this year unintentionally.
Yeah, that's
the
the
most
point.
viral. Unintentionally, but he did do it.
But my point is larger. Is that yes, unintentionally we might kind of land on something that is kind of very interesting to them. And but my point is, where is your larger signal? Subbu, why don't you give me a point of view? How do you, as people who are Gen Xers and millennials, who are trying very hard to market to a cohort actually which we are pretending to kind of understand, we have actually no knowledge.
Yeah, correct.
Right? Where are you getting your signals from? Your signals cannot be from your team. It can't even be from Gen Z, because that generation has also become quite different. So where are you getting your signals from? And it cannot be your kids, because that's really becoming a very small slice of insight,
Very small and often very wrong also. Yeah. I guess I think Abby made that point. You got to live with them, Sonali. You got to spend time living with them. Only then do you get a sense. Otherwise, it's very difficult. It becomes most of the times what happens is what I've seen is you are giving a perspective, and that perspective many times I find doesn't have. It's not based on an experience. It's either it's borrowed, or I've heard people speaking this and people saying that and all those kinds of things. Unless you live that, and now, for example, Preeti said about her spending time with her son while playing. Now you know that it's that lived experience. In that lived experience is something that you are picking up those signals at that point of time, and those don't have to be too many signals. Now you pick 1, 2, 3, and then that's where you add your own experience, and then your own learnings that you pick from cross learnings and all these things, and then you make some sense out of it. Okay, this is where it is. Then you can start adding. That's where probably your judgment and all come into play there. What could potentially work or what may not work in the cause of the brand and all those things. And the thing is again, when she was talking about the Vaseline experience kind of thing, and it's interesting, I found, because many times there are a lot of new brands today. When I look at the brands come and die. I don't really know how long are they lasting. Now 150-year-old brand lasted, or a Coke lasted, or a McDonald's lasted, and all those things. I think something what they had done beautifully is, because the fundamental human emotions will always be the same. The emotions that our great grandfathers have gone through, or as long as humanity exists, will always be the same.
This is quite a large assumption, right?
No, I think
we are taught this. I agree that humans, but isn't it a very large assumption?
No. What they had done beautifully is these brands, they married those fundamental emotions with the attitudes of that particular generation, which they had great grip on. Okay, which I think they haven't lost that connect, and then that's when magic happened. Otherwise, a lot of them, some of them exist, and we don't even have any. Yeah, they are there, part of thing.
Let me turn that around, Madhav. If I can have your attention, please. What's the last piece of good advertising you saw?
Tissue paper brand ad.
All the things.
What's the brand's name?
I don't remember.
Great, I think you all can applaud yourself.
Wait, I've seen an ad of a brand called Zero.
What's that?
I don't like that at all. It's basically, I think, just carbonated water.
Okay, that's it.
It was saying no sugar, no carbs. So I was like, it's carbonated water, because it was saying soda. And then the ad was not very interesting.
Where did you watch it?
On TV, I was watching some show or something, then it just came.
I see.
So just a minute. A more relevant question: of all the creators that you follow, is there any creator that said that this product is very good for XYZ thing?
I mean, this creator is kind of advertising his own product. It's called he's Mr. Beast. So
He's got a lot of products. Yeah.
So he made like this. I was just watching the video today in an airplane. So basically, he made some chocolate milk.
Correct.
And then in the middle of the video, he was like telling how it's good and that it tastes really good and how it's good for health.
So would you buy that product because you like Mr. Beast?
I like Mr. Beast, but I don't think I would buy that product because I don't like chocolate.
I don't know.
Especially like I like chocolate, but I don't like when you put it in like milk or something.
I think that's the problem you can say we all faced as kids. Yeah.
So Sonali, just to like a counter view also is that in one way, yes, it's very difficult to understand them, but also in many ways, this is the easiest it's been to reach this generation. A generation ago, how would you reach children? How would you get to hear their voice? Right? Unless you went through a school channel or you went through it was a very one-way street. Marketing to children was a very one-way street. Today you can enter Discord rooms, you can be a part of video gaming circles, you can be a part of so many different, you can insert yourself in many, many conversations. It's now no longer a one-way street. It is a conversation, but you have to be ready to be part of that conversation.
But tell me something, younger kids can't recognize embedded advertising, okay? Older kids can, but they don't care. Right? Is the advertising and marketing ecosystem benefiting from this ambiguity?
They perhaps have
Right.
in the past, but I think going forward, and especially because, even when you talk about children and advertising to children, it's not a homogeneous cohort. There are different levels of cognitive capabilities like the report talked about. So I think especially if you talk about the younger 7 to 9 age group, I think it calls for radical transparency in saying this is an ad, and the creative challenge is in making that ad so interesting that it does not feel like an interruption. I think Lego has historically done that very well, where the commercial itself was the play. So it really begs for creatives to reevaluate, say, do we have to be sneaky and, embed ourselves into content where we won't be noticed? Or do we say, hey, you know what, we're going to make the advertising so interesting and so relevant that they're going to enjoy watching it? And some of the ads we can recall from when we were young, you remembered those jingles and you sang them because you were genuinely interested in them.
Right. But then where do you draw the line? I mean, where do you draw the line personally in terms of smart integration versus manipulation? How do you personally draw that line?
Like ASCI has guidelines on how to advertise for children. They are self-regulatory.
That's
but
easy answer.
Exactly. I feel that it's not enough. That's not enough because the ecosystem has changed completely. Creators are everywhere. It's ambient. You have messages. Very often children become unintended recipients of a message.
Exactly.
Right? Case in point, the whole Sephora Kids phenomenon. No brand was selling retinol to 12-year-olds. I mean, anti-aging to 12-year-olds, come on, right? But this entire tween generation, it's a global trend.
Absolutely.
Going after ingredients like peptides and retinol. And one of the reasons they probably did it was because they were just consuming this content. They were just absorbed in this world. They didn't realize there was commerce embedded in all of that influencer engagement, right? So I think at one level, it calls for an industry level sort of baseline understanding of saying, hey, first of all, we're not going to target children or explore these cognitive gaps. And I don't think we can be as rigid in putting together, rules and regulations, because I think Santosh talked about this. It becomes very difficult to say, oh, you can do this and you can do that. But I think the solution...
That's really the conundrum, isn't it?
It is. And the solution lies in the creative, the regulatory, and the platforms, I think. It has to be actions taken on all three parts to ensure that we're doing our best to make advertising work, but at the same time do it responsibly, because that at the heart of everything is the question on ethics.
But if a child cannot differentiate between play and persuasion, can you even call yourselves, doing the job called advertising? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
For the sake of debate, right?
No, I think it's tough, because advertising at the heart of it is trying to sell something. Right? And if a child is unable to discern selling from entertainment, that's a threat. it's a threat to how they develop, how they perceive the world, and how they grow up in this world. And the Sephora kids being an example of that. Now, there are certain guidelines we can put in place. So, for example, when we do influencer work, right? I came across some vlogs recently, very popular YouTuber in India who himself uses an Apple phone, but gives a phone of another brand to his younger brother, talking about all the features and telling him how it's a great phone for vlogging. Now that's a coded message, right? No one said, hey, this brand has paid me to put this message out. So for example, if we just take influencer work, if it's mandatory for every influencer to design disclosure in the content and not make it one regulatory 8-point message at the bottom or in the caption where they open saying, hey, you know what? XYZ brand send me this and I'm going to be real with you about it. That's one way to make disclosure part of the message and part of the narrative. Now that's only one solution. It's a complex network with a lot of thinking that needs to be engineered to make sure we're doing our best, and we do need to do better.
Yeah.
Right. You have
I don't think it's complex at all. I don't think this deserves industry's goodwill at all, because parents are getting angrier and angrier every day. So industry's goodwill won't solve this. If it was industry's goodwill or the platform's goodwill, we would have solved this on day 1. And we are here on day 100. Things are far, far, far worse. It will be regulatory and it will come hard on the industry. They wouldn't even know what hit them. It'll hit them very soon. That's what's going to happen actually.
And the fourth stakeholder, so you mentioned the creators, the consumers, the children, and the platform. The fourth big stakeholder is the parent community, right? And it's the parents who are speaking up, who also need to be brought into the conversation in terms of educating them. There are schools who are now conducting workshops as part of a PTA, like telling this is what your kids are watching, this is like the games they're playing, this is how it works. And that advocacy is really important, because
are we then quietly shifting responsibility away from ourselves?
It's a societal responsibility. It doesn't belong to anyone. It is the responsibility of our society. Children are our responsibility. And of course, regulatory body is the most important.
When I say ourselves, I'm really talking about the advertising and marketing ecosystem. Yeah. Are we quietly shying away saying, yes, there are stakeholders. This is the new society. This is the new normal, right? Are we then, which is why I asked you the question, if a child cannot differentiate between play and persuasion, can we even still call it advertising? You have a point of view on that?
I think, like I said earlier, that alluding to what she said, that it has to be transparent. It's very clear that the brand is giving a message and it's intended for a certain age group, right?
So I love the fact that I know all of you are, industry people and lobbying, but it's my job to play devil's advocate. This kind of trust that you have in advertisers and, they being, this great conscience keepers of society.
I don't have that at all. I don't have that at all. The industry's job is to sell.
Yeah.
Industry's job is to sell.
That's what Karthik said, right? Only regulation is going to work.
It will be regulation.
Yeah.
Let me name and shame. After so many years of, talking about, not shaming dusky or dark-skinned people, Fair and Lovely was forced to change, but what has it changed to? Glow and Lovely. That's how shallow advertisers are, right? To them, it is dhanda. Yep. So what are we talking about? It's the stakeholder thing. Let's just get real. Should we look at this not being looked at as advertising? Should it be called something else? Because there is so much space for manipulation and these are vulnerable minds.
Yeah, 100%. At the end of the day, if I don't know something's being sold to me, then it's not advertising, because like Karthik said, at the heart of advertising is to sell. And every stakeholder has a responsibility, the brands included. And I think there is precedent for, in different areas, perhaps not particularly related to ethics in advertising, where brands have stepped in to intervene and create programs and educate and all of that. It's not enough, because I feel the shift we're seeing now is so humongous that we have a lot of catching up to do. And more than catching up, it's a fundamental reframe of how we operate. Because if you think about it, when we work on briefs as planners, we're not thinking ethics. What are we thinking? We're thinking, who is our core TG? How can I get my core TG to buy?
Yeah, thank you
Right?
for your honesty. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And the quality of my brief is evaluated on how effective it is on that particular task.
And how much you move the needle in the market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think therefore, a fundamental reframe right at the beginning of when we start to plan for communication is important to then, evaluate how that reflects in the end output when that creative is living out in the world and all of that. And the reason why I said it's complicated is because it's not just agencies advertising. No, today it's so many creators, and that the regulations you create have to span this entire ecosystem.
Right. Let me just ask some practitioners who are sitting here. Subbu, I can only see you. So unfortunately, thanks, thanks. Huh? So, for all this to happen, we having more of a conscience, brands looking at the whole karmic cycle, all of that, right? How do you think, what incentives do you think does any platform offer to, let's say, any creator or any brand, which are trying to make their advertising more viable when invisibility drives performance?
One of the things actually, Sonali, what battling is, okay, I'll talk from an audience point of view. If I put myself in the shoes of an audience, I don't know what to trust.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to trust. Because it's exponential claims, okay, whether it is on what the product does or the person propagating the product also, like, which we call it brand and whatever we call it and all those things. And that is, to me, increasingly becoming very, very difficult. Probably that's the reason why when you asked earlier the question, I was waiting for somebody to give a bold answer, okay, on the brand part of it, or the brand relationship part of it, kind of thing. It is, I don't know, I'm a big believer of that brand and this and long term and all those kinds of things. And now you look at it, the question is one of the things that beautifully for the last few years, Gen Z has put this into our lingo of situationship and all. I believe all brands are in situationship only. There's no relationship at all.
Exactly.
Completely gone. They're all brand situationships or the business situationships, what we call it. And to me, what we are probably we are in an AdTrust Summit today. And to me, the biggest thing that we are battling and facing is I don't really know as an audience who to trust. I'm just completely, and that is disappearing, and probably has disappeared to a large extent. And he said he doesn't even remember the brand. I don't. And Madhav, when he said when you ask the question, something I've seen, something caught his fancy at some point of time. Maybe in the next 5 minutes forgotten about it. I don't even need. There's no point to no need to remember also, kind of thing. Okay, that to me, that's the biggest issue. Biggest issue. I don't think there is I don't think we're going to. There is an answer to that immediately, and what we are battling currently. It's only going to go. It's only going to get worse on that front.
Just one point there. I think we need to ask him, what does trust mean to him? Because for us, it means something very different.
Very different. Correct.
For a 9-year-old, what does trust mean seriously? Yeah. I'm very curious.
And let me only go and ask him, actually. It will be answered for me also. What does trust mean to you?
Somebody believes somebody else to be on their side, and not lie and not do anything against them.
Not lie. That is the point I'll pick from there. Not lie. Very well said.
Trust the most out of everybody sitting here?
No one.
I don't know.
It's okay. That's a good response. Yeah, that's a good response. But on that note, my time is up. And I think final thoughts are clear. that, and the report is, I think, very clear on one thing, and I'd like to end it with what the report is calling out, that children are not passive, but they are vulnerable in ways that are invisible. And, as we kind of come to a close to this panel discussion, I think marketers, parents, the entire ecosystem, but in particular, marketers and the advertising ecosystem, I think need to show us that they're capable of being better corporate citizens. And on that note, thank you so much for inviting me, and I've enjoyed this panel thoroughly, and the panel before that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.